What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today I want to show you guys a guide on the heroic Gauntlet game mode. And if you haven't seen that game mode yet, it is because it is a little bit hidden, because it's not in the event tab actually, it is in the routines tab right there at the bottom. You can find it with the flaming golem, and of course it has an enhanced ability. And this enhanced ability is fairly interesting because the flaming golem usually works like that. Because it's placed into a game mode as an enemy of yours, it starts off with full energy, and then it kind of uses its energy as fuel to fight you. It uses its abilities and everything, and then it basically drains its energy. And once it reaches zero energy, it's called it's in a state called overloaded state, and in that state it can't move but recovers energy and is immune to CC effects. And then when it has full energy again, it will fight you again. So this is the way it usually works. Here it's a little bit different. They do no longer have this energy cost. They will attack you all the time, and when it takes damage and has basically lost all of its HP, it enters this overloaded state, and after 5 seconds it will just get up again with full HP. And the trick here is there are two golems, so you have to defeat both golems. You have to get both golems in this overloaded state, and then you are basically the winner. And for that, you want to use heroes that can kind of deal damage to both of these guys at the same time, and can get them to the overloaded state at the fairly similar time. Because if you have heroes that only attack the first guy, well, then you will just defeat this guy and probably not in time the second guy. So this is the problem here. And for this you can use very, very different heroes. We're starting off with kind of a very classic team that we have heard here. I noticed this one works fairly well and has a very consistent rate of defeating it. And I can kind of show you how the fight looks. The heroes we are using here are also Merrily. We have Lorsan in here, which you can replace if you don't own him. And then we have Smokey, we have Fresto, and we have Sonya. And first things first, well, these guys actually deal a ton of damage initially and then kind of stop. And you can also manually cast ults. So we can kind of do this with the Sonya ult here. Bam. And when we click right here, we actually hit them both. But Sonya will then attack the more backmost guy, which kind of gives us a little bit more even energy distribution. So if you want to go ahead and kind of do a little bit of manual casting, that is possible here. Surging spell, keeping our heroes alive, and then we get into the third Smokey ult, starting off dealing a ton of damage here. And as long as we get both of them down within 5 seconds, that is usually fine. Come on. And okay, we managed to do so. So this team immediately scored us the win here, the victory for this stage. We can see the damage numbers here. So we didn't really get the biggest damage from Lorsan. What he does though is he gets a little bit of extra here going, gives us a little bit of dodge on our weaker heroes. So this is kind of nice, but you can replace him for something else. Other damage dealers that do very well in this game mode, this is something we can look over. So let's take a look at other damage dealers that do very well in this game mode. Other damage dealers here, we have Lorsan. What you can do is you can go with Talene. Talene is actually great. We're going to watch a team with her in a second. Odie works if you manually target him. Auto Odie is kind of a thing because he will kind of just attack the frontmost enemy and take him out very, very early. We saw Sonya. I tried Cryonara. Cryonara can deal a ton of damage, but I noticed it is huge RNG if you actually win, because she will just do her storms, and those storms will often take out one golem way earlier than the other, and then you end up with the golem reviving even within her ult. So I wouldn't necessarily recommend that. You can't go with Iron on this one, just because they do have a hidden trait, and maybe I can show you guys this as well, because this is also something that drove me a little bit away from Siren on this one. If we just take away this team and go in with an Iron, you can actually see that those guys are unaffected, and it won't say anywhere in their abilities that they are unaffected, which is a little bit strange. I'm not actually sure if this is intended that they are unaffected. Because usually something like this would be listed in their traits, which are not there if you go in like this, but are actually there if you go in like this. Once it becomes vulnerable, once the energy is depleted. And yeah, doesn't really say anything about that. So it's a little bit strange that they are always like unaffected. So in general, for the team build though, if we go in this, we need 2 key elements, 3 key elements really. The first key element is we need the very tanky hero. The very tanky hero that I chose was Fresto, but you can go ahead and you can choose any tank or tanky warrior that you want. It should fit together with the rest of your team though. So if you decide to go for something like Sonya together with Merrily, well then you can, for example, use Luca, because that will upgrade your faction bonus over here. Faction bonus always upgraded, of course, when we use Fresto. I will default for Fresto here now, but you can use any tank that you want. There is no mechanical reason behind me using Fresto here, so if you use any tank, it will work out for you. The second thing that I would recommend for really all teams is to go for a healer, and the best healer for this, in my opinion, is Smokey. So if we go for Smokey, that is absolutely great, because none of those two has actually any kind of CC, so Smokey will provide us with heal for the entire time. Keep in mind the Smokey positioning is very relevant on this. If we go like this, we actually don't have the reach to reach this lastmost guy. The Beam Golem will stand at this position, and so we have to be close enough to him, which means this position or this position. Though if we go for this position, we will immediately be attacked by both Golems, which will quickly end our Smokey. So we kind of have to go for this, which sometimes is a little bit finicky, but this can work. So, and then we can start off by stacking other heroes on that. And if we, by the way, do this, it kind of still works, but this Golem can tend to just go over here and just attack our Smokey, which is a little bit annoying. If we do it like this, then it works again. And if we, for example, want to go and make like a Talene team, we can include twins and just go ahead, put our Talene in there, and this leaves us with one more hero slot where we could go Odie if we just want to have a little bit of single target that we can manual cast, or if we want to just go, and it's a little bit of RNG, I have to say, and want to go with a little bit more AoE damage, then we can go Bonnie. So this can lead to some problems, because those two guys will actually deal a bit of damage to this dude, so can be a little bit finicky, but usually this team will work as well. And I would just like let it go fully autocast it. One thing to note as well, we also had the strategy of strategically positioning Talene on the Hugin tile. So if you use Hugin, you can autocast the Talene ult and make the positioning of Hugin so that you actually have her on the tile, giving you a ton more attack. So here in this position we see we actually defeated the last guy first, and he will come back. And what I just did in those situations, because we have unlimited attacks, is we have a ton of damage right now here, but this guy will still come back, and I just click the button to see if we can win. And actually, yeah, turns out at some point we managed to do so. And yeah, this team can definitely work. And this is like your base thing that you do. And let me show you a few more different teams that also work and are able to beat this fight. Okay, for this team we have actually the same positioning of Fresto and Smokey as I had before. I really like this positioning. And then we added Vala, we added Odie, and we added Merrily. And the good thing about this team is that we get to use Vala's special ability, which is the melee mode, as we are able to manually cast our ults in this game mode, and we want to make use of that. So let's wait until they get close to their ults. We can let Odie cast his first ult automatically, and then once Vala has her ult, we will have to cast all Vala ults manually, because we want to really take the backmost guy in melee mode. This is rather important. So let's also get a little bit of damage over time going on the backmost guy, and then we can attack with Vala on the tile, every time on the tile of this dude again, so that we get basically as symmetrical as possible damage as we can do. Here, as we can see, this guy is a whole lot ahead, so we want to cast our ults as much as possible on the backmost guy. Looking kind of good. We could use some heal there on the Odie. You can see it's not like super difficult. As long as we just go for the manual cast, we can quickly decide, okay, now this guy's a little bit higher in terms of HP. And then we wait for Vala's next ult, and we can see, okay, kind of want to keep them very, 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 very even. And perfect. This looks wonderful. We can activate the ult now again, because we don't have to manually cast that anymore. And bam, this should clear out this guy as well. And we have a very perfect clear here, with a little bit more manual casting that we are usually used to. But this is very important if you want to deal top damage with Vala, because her melee mode is just so much stronger. And we can see for Merrily, we really don't have to worry. Her ult will always hit like 2 enemies, so it's not really a thing of concern. But like you saw how we did this, just keeping the HP of those guys even, and it worked fairly well. We are also, I mean, like, we do have a little bit of Paragon going here, but you should still be able to do this with less Paragon. As long as your heroes survive, you're probably very much so fine. Yeah. And one thing I do have to mention, because I haven't done so yet, is if you want to use a tank that isn't Fresto, and in this situation, for example, I mean, we do have the option to go either Mauler or Lightbearer. Both of those would be fine, so we have to take a look at what we have there. Sometimes Warriors are good as well. Like if you go with the Valka, you are absolutely fine. Corrin could work out as well, just has to be tanky enough. Usually with a tank, you are on a very good way. Here we could go with our trusty Luca, or would also work would be Atalanta. And for some damage, I mean, maybe Temesia. I wouldn't be too sure about that. For full, if you want to make your team a little bit more tanky, maybe even Lucius. Honestly, maybe even Lucius. Question is, can Lucius survive the first hit? I haven't tried him out yet for this, actually. Doesn't look too bad. Let's wait for an autocast ult, because if this guy actually gets to ult, then maybe, okay, ever so slightly not strong enough. Luca should be, though. So that is something to keep in mind. If you go with that, probably Lucius not the way, but Luca, as we can see, we have to do a little bit of repositioning there, but he definitely should be tanky enough, because he's super tanky, actually. One of the more tanky tanks, and yeah, so this clear, maybe not on like the auto mode, but with the manual casting we did before, should also be able to clear it, and there we just use Luca. Here, of course, we run into the problem that we defeat the first golem first. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video a little bit. I hope you gave you some options here to go for. With a little bit of manually casting, actually a whole lot more heroes become viable. Something like Cessia could also work, and maybe even Sinbad, so those are definitely options for you. But now you have a few options on your hand that you can take and go into this, and all the knowledge that you need to actually clear all of those game modes. If you haven't already, maybe consider subscribing to this channel, and other than that, I wish you a great day, and we'll see us in the next one.